What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Jess the Total Package, Craig the British Bulldog, and Cuz, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, the legacy of The Undertaker from 86 to 99. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give Cuz a solid and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Jess, this seems long overdue, but it is the 200, is it not?
This is our 200th episode. Our 200th episode. We've actually done more than 200, but of the numbered episodes,
sweet.
This is our 200th episode. It's over 3 years we've been doing this. And so when we did the 100th episode, I did Hogan, the legacy of Hogan. And I want to do the whole thing. And I don't want to do like 5-hour episodes, so I was struggling. And I was like, oh, I'll just do the years. I'll do his WWF years. Yeah. But then after we did it, I didn't like it. Not from it, just a combination. I didn't like it. And I was annoyed with myself with the notes
I said some things and just didn't like it.
Craig said some shit, and it was like, I swear to God, I think the episode's like 2.5 hours. I'm not even kidding. Without even look. So long. I was not happy with it at all. And but then I was like, I will never do that again for a 100th or 200th or 300th
And how many
episode.
pages? How many pages are here? Just
But then Cuz and I were talking. I was like, let's do Sting. We'll do Sting. But then I was like, that's just as long as, somebody else. So I was like, you know what? Let's wait for Sting. Let's do The Undertaker. Like, he's a worthy 200th episode. And I was like, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a full fucking legacy. I'm not going to do this year to that year. And then I got, through writing it, and I was like, we're going to do 86 and 99 because this fucking shit's long. So he's had a long career, in case anybody forgot that he had a long career. So that's fine. Apparently our 100th or 100th episode, no matter what it is, will always be a legacy of year to year. I will never do a complete legacy.
Fun fact for the O.W.P diehard fans out there, the O.W.P marks, when we were doing our practice runs, didn't we do wasn't it like in 4
we did the
parts?
streak.
Because we did, did we do the streak?
Yeah, we did the streak, yeah.
And we did that, and I think that was still done in like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, we did that. We did that in your house, Cuz, for like 3 weeks. It took forever. Try to get through it.
Yeah.
So now he's out to light. Our 200th episode is the legacy of The Undertaker, at least the first portion of his career. I purposely stopped right before the American Badass. So we're going to cover his beginning years and then the Dead Man going through. Obviously, he came back as the Dead Man later in 2004 at WrestleMania 20. Yeah. But that's another.
But when you think about Taker's, his career, like he predates stuff under like Dusty. He was around during Dusty days and Flair days and WCW, and then comes here under Hogan era, and then just keeps going. And he really just stopped wrestling 2 years ago.
Yeah, about
40
He was sort of.
He was sort of
like the last bridge of because the rocking 80s era was dying in 91, 92. We didn't really know in 90, 91.
But he was wrestling before that too.
He came in in 1990, so he was at the tail end. I think we've talked about it in other episodes before where he wrestled in the same promotion as Roberts and Piper and Hogan and Savage, and it was the end of that rockin' wrestling that was dying.
Yeah, he worked for Fritz von Erich, the Sportatorium.
Yeah. So I forget the connection that he has, and again, he was at the end of our fandom as kids because he came in 1990. We were in junior high, 6th grade. Yeah. At that time too, some of us were. I think Craig was in junior high. We were in 6th grade in 90 or something like that, or 7th grade. So he came in at the end. We knew him as one of the characters that was the WWF traveling show. That was the rockin' 80s into the early 90s kind of thing. And then everything changed 3 years after he joined the promotion because wrestling audience changed, Attitude Era started later and all that. But we're going to get into a lot of that actually. But Taker's been around a long, long time. And I did not like his gimmick at all when he first debuted. I'm a hypocrite.
We booed him as much as we could. Cuz was there.
Well, I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite because Hogan can Hulk up and no sell all he wants because I'm a Hogan fan.
Brother.
But if Undertaker did it, I was like, this is stupid. This is dumb. Why would you do that?
You know who loved The Undertaker since day one?
Vince.
My mother.
Jess's mother.
Yeah.
Oh, Kathy, we love you. Hope you're well.
Oh, really?
My mom's the same way. Yeah, my mom. That's her favorite.
Taker. Yeah.
I love The Undertaker.
my dad.
Let's just jump right into the early career. Mark William Calloway was born in Houston, Texas on March 24th, 1965, the son of Frank Compton Calloway and Betty Catherine Truby. He has 4 older brothers named David, Michael, Paul, and Timothy. He attended Waltrip High School, where he was a member of the football and basketball teams. He graduated in 1983 and began studying on a basketball scholarship at Angelina College in Lufkin, Texas. In 1985, he enrolled in Texas Wasteland University in Fort Worth, where he majored in sports management and played as a center for the Rams in the 1985-1986 season. Not those programs. Get it right. In 1986, Calloway dropped out of university to focus on a career in sports and briefly considered playing professional basketball in Europe before deciding to focus on professional wrestling. Let's get into that pro wrestling from 87 to 1990. Calloway...
You'll never make it, kid.
You'll never make it in basketball. That's true. Calloway began training under
What if he became the locker room leader in the NBA?
Oh, God.
Scottie Pippen, you're putting Michael
The
Jordan
NBA
over.
court,
You're putting Jordan over
basketball
tonight.
court back there. Whenever
Basketball
they get in trouble.
Larry Bird, you're putting Jordan over today. Whether you like it or not, we're gonna
Taker
wait
could never
backstage.
dunk. Come on. Taker.
With JBL bullying the point guards.
Mark Calloway began training under Buzz Sawyer in the late 1986 year. He disliked Sawyer, who reportedly lacked commitment and provided limited education. What do you mean, Jess?
Buzz Sawyer, like, God. Actually, if you go back and watch, Buzz Sawyer was a fucking fantastic seller and bumper. He was amazing. And I go back and watch some of his shit, and I'm like, good God, man. Like, he did some crazy stuff. But I guess he conned people a lot out of their money. He offered to train people, and he would con them out of money. And they would go up and knock
A lot
on
of
his
wrestlers
door,
have
and he
that
would
story.
fucking answer his door in his underwear and shit, hung over, and be like, what? Nah, we can't train today. We're not training today. And it was like this the same every day. So Undertaker, unfortunately, was one of his victims, probably gave him some dough. Help me out. I'll ride with you. You'll educate me. And then Buzz just he just took advantage of young people, which totally sucks. Like, especially in wrestling back in the days, here, you hear Mick Foley, you hear Austin, you hear Taker, Austin, there was a period where all he ate every day for a meal was fucking raw potatoes and fucking tuna. And he slept
Raw
on the
potatoes
floor
and
and all
tuna.
that stuff. You're giving your money to people like, here, I have $30 left, but here, if that gets me training, let's do training for $30. You got someone like Buzz Sawyer that fucking takes advantage. That sucks, man. Like,
And then for the next 20 years after Undertaker made it, Buzz Sawyer's probably like, hey, I trained the Undertaker. Yep,
Yeah.
$3,000. Oh,
But see, imagine
nice.
like the likes of Ken Shamrock and Undertaker. Like he could have, if he would have just stuck with it, and fucking.
Right, didn't you say too
Oh,
that
did he do
Shamrock
Ken
had a-
Shamrock
he
too,
could-
Buzz Sawyer?
Yeah, Ken Shamrock.
Oh,
as
shit. Wow.
He could have. He could have.
Well, and Shamrock was a wrestler before he was an MMA fighter. Everyone
Yeah,
thinks
exactly.
he went to MMA to wrestling, but Shamrock wrestled indies long before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was more. into
Why he's
wrestling
so
before
good?
MMA.
You're like, why is he so good? Because he fucking
He
did it
is.
first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Calloway learned
Like I said,
on the
Ken Shamrock, here
job thereafter, performing under a mask as Texas Red. Calloway wrestled his first match on June 26,
creative.
1987 for World Class Championship Wrestling, losing to Bruiser Brody at the Dallas Sportatorium.
15 minutes. First, on my right in the red corner, weighing in at 315 pounds from the Lone Star State, Percy Pringle presents Texas Red. And his opponent tonight at 300 pounds from Santa Fe, New Mexico, after a long absence, Bruiser Brody. From Duluth, your referee.
In 1989, Calloway joined World Championship Wrestling WCW as a villain and adopted the ring name Mean Mark Callis, a name devised for him by Terry Funk. Of course, Terry Funk. My horse is sick.
You look mean, Mark.
And your last name is Callus. It's going to be Mark Callus.
It's gonna be good. I'm sorry. I keep thinking of the Family Guy. It's gonna be great.
Give the candy in my pocket, Mark.
You know what I'm thinking?
Where's the paper boy? I haven't
You
seen
know what
it
I'm
for a
thinking,
while.
Mark?
Yeah.
So funny. He was on to. He's like, you know what I'm thinking, Mark? You should be like kind of a dead. No, never mind. Just be mean, Mark. And he's like, what? No, what were you
Yeah.
gonna say before that?
Mostly on
Just be Mark. It's fine.
Yeah, we're not ready for that yet. We're not.
Yeah, this is fine.
He, being Mark, not Terry Funk, was portrayed as a sinister force wearing predominantly black ring attire and was described by announcer Jim Ross as having a fondness for pet snakes and the music of Ozzy Osbourne. I didn't know.
What?
WCW was so fucking trash. Like, I swear to God, like,
it's so bad.
if you're Jim Ross and you get that, they're like, all right, here's how you're gonna put this new guy over. His name's Mark. He's gonna be me, Mark, or whatever.
He likes Ozzy
Well,
Osbourne.
guys, it seems like
He
you have a
likes
fondness for
snakes and
pet
Ozzy
snakes,
Osbourne.
and he loves listening to Ozzy Osbourne. Like his young voice.
Young Jim Ross.
He's like, my God! He likes snakes and the music of Ozzy Osbourne. My God!
We're in a crazy chain here in Atlanta, folks.
And it looks like he came in on a crazy train with his pet snake right next to him.
Oh shit! Oh God.
The veteran Rick Fargo to take on Mean Mark. Paul Lee dangerously has something to say to you fans. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. But what he has to say might. Let's take a listen to these comments.
Right here on NWA Pro Wrestling, you are about to see the greatest combination in the history of professional wrestling. Paul E. Dangerously, the modern-day Einstein, whose every word is backed up by a human destruction machine named Mean Mark Callis.
I love young Jim Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Callis was promptly drafted
God.
into
Alfalfa hair. Yeah.
Callis was promptly drafted into the Skyscrapers tag team to replace a legitimately injured Sid Vicious and made his
my
debut
leg.
on January 3rd of 1990.
I think I hurt my shoulder.
Skyscrapers hurt me.
Damn it.
Calloway
Hey, he was young too. Skyscrapers.
He's like, he's like, goo goo gaga on my shoulder.
My dog just growled when I made that voice, by the way. My dog's like, "Rrr," over here. I'm like, skyscrapers. Jackson's like, "Brr." Calloway later began to question his future in WCW after being told by company booker Ole Anderson during contract renewal discussions that nobody would ever pay money to watch him perform.
Yeah.
Fun
This coming
fact,
from a
Ole was
motherfucker.
Shockmaster.
Fun fact,
From a guy
nobody paid for Ole either, by the way. Just
Yeah.
saying. Nobody.
This
fucking
coming
paid
from
for
a
Ole.
guy who did the voice for Black Scorpion and Shockmaster. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for
Oh,
that.
that
Thanks.
was Black Scorpion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too. It was in response to this that Calloway made numerous efforts to join the World Wrestling Federation, going to many lengths to land a meeting with Vince McMahon. So there you go. Let's get into the World Wrestling Federation from 1990 to 2020. Jeez.
You'll never draw time.
Are we seriously jumping into 30 years right now? Wow. Okay, here
Yeah.
we go. I don't think we are. I think we're stopping at a certain point before 2020. But
1999.
Whoa. In October of 1990, Calloway had signed with the World Wrestling Federation to portray the brainchild of Vince McMahon that he had assigned to him, originally entitled Kane the Undertaker. Despite Calloway's perplexed, pessimistic feelings about McMahon's gimmick idea, he was readily accepting of the role. Kane the Undertaker was characterized as a menacing derivative of the Wild West Undertakers depicted in television westerns. Resulting from that, the very first edition of the Undertaker series of Dead Man incarnations has been distinguished in external media as the Old West Mortician.
Which I never got. I guess, like, there were some early vignettes, like in 92. Remember when he was making the coffin and shit for Kamala?
Yes.
And
Dude, I
was
love
in a
those
steel-
promos.
He was in a steel house, like, and he was
Was it
like,
Death Valley?
heating up steel and fucking hitting it with a hammer. And like, I
remember
never
those so
got
vividly.
that. I never got that the original Undertaker was like kind of like a Wild West mortician. Like, I don't know. Like, I just
that was
never
Death Valley.
thought about
I mean, it's
that.
Death Valley. We should have all thought that. Death Valley is.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Right in the way.
Sounds like someone didn't do a good enough job explaining it, Vince.
So yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yeah. You better get out of here before Sheriff comes around again.
We're gonna take you, Kamala, in a paddy wagon.
Well, I'm gonna ride into town on my stallion. And...
Yeah.
He being Mark, not Kamala, made his overall WWF debut on November 19th, 1990 taping of WWF Superstars, quickly defeating his very
I'm
first
John
opponent.
Marston.
Coco Beware.
What? You gotta
Coco Beware?
Mario Mancini in a singles match. This match would not air, though, until his pay-per-view debut.
That's not a real name,
after
Marilyn.
after his pay-per-view debut. So he filmed his first.
Yeah,
he
until after,
actually
right.
wrestled for WWF before Survivor Series, but it didn't air. Until
That's
after
right.
Survivor Series.
Oh, did you hear that? That was Brother Love screamed out, Tombstone. Oh, inverted pile driver that he calls the Tombstone. Look at this. Look at the arm. Please. R.I.P., pal. Wow. Here's the official word.
Here's your winner, Kane the Undertaker.
I wish it was 1990 again.
Yeah. Calloway's official televised debut was the Survivor Series event, as we just talked about, which he was presented as the heel mystery partner of Ted DiBiase's $1 Million team. He was accompanied by his manager, Brother Love. Boy, was that short-lived. The Undertaker eliminated Coco Beware with his finisher, the Tombstone Piledriver. We just talked about this 2 weeks ago, that Coco was the first person to ever take the Tombstone Piledriver.
No birds.
What an accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you get. Birds. No birds. Sorry.
No birds.
No bird.
You got to go back and watch that episode to understand the inside joke. Yeah, Andre's scared of birds, apparently. So during the match, The Undertaker also eliminated Dusty Rhodes before being counted out. However, his team won the match, with DiBiase being the sole survivor. During the match, Calloway was referred to simply as The Undertaker, omitting the portion Kane, which was dropped shortly after the event. In February of 91, Brother Love delegated his short-lived management role of The Undertaker over to Paul Bearer, who was a real-life funeral director. Love communicating the need for someone to better align with The Undertaker's dead man themes.
And really quick, I know it's not a talking point in our notes real quick, but Bruce really loved the name Kane Pritchard. And so that's why he was Kane the Undertaker in the first early tapings. And then after a while, Vince was like, it's a mouthful. I don't want to say it. Let's just call him the Undertaker.
Just call him the Undertaker.
So we'll talk about somebody later who debuted years later.
As
and
Kane.
he became Kane. And like, so because Bruce never let it go. He's like, Kane will fit in somewhere. And so
And
like,
he was right.
years in 1997, a character came Kane. So, but a lot of people don't know that the original name for Undertaker was Kane the Undertaker, which is crazy. If that would have stuck, like they probably would have shortened it. He's just Kane. So Undertaker would have
imagine?
been Kane if you think about it. Like,
Wow.
it's weird.
And then Kane would have been the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Histrionic, wailing, and ghostly in character, Bearer complimented The Undertaker and was almost always seen bearing an urn, which he raised to the air to transmit supernatural healing powers to The Undertaker. This typically resulted in The Undertaker recovering from attacks and counterattacking his adversary. His
Oh, is that what they were saying?
But we were so opposite ends of the spectrum. Paul Bearer had the creepy, squeaky, loud voice. And then I didn't say much, but when I did, it was low, slow.
Rest in peace.
Paul could do the gist of the interviews, and then I could come in at the end. It was such a contrast. It was worked out great.
That's what they said.
He's fat cow.
That's what she wrote. During his early years, The Undertaker took to post-match ritual of placing his defeated opponents, almost always those jobbers, those prelims, in a body bag and carrying them backstage. Gosh, I don't remember that.
No, neither do I.
Really?
It led
That's
to
wild.
a program with the Warrior we'll read on later, too. They actually had body bag matches around the country.
Oh, so good. The Undertaker's first major moment was defeating Jimmy Superfly Snuka at WrestleMania 7 on March 24th, 1991. It was where the famous streak was born without anyone noticing.
Tombstone City. No! It's all over, Brent. I don't believe it. That is Superfly Jimmy Snuka. That's impressive. R.I.P.
What streak you talking about, Craig?
Nothing.
Huh? He once fasted for 21 years. That's not true. The WrestleMania streak.
He won
Yeah, man.
dominoes in the back for 21 years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. They played cards for 21 years in the back before the matches. Andre.
That'd be so fun if like Snuka would have gone over, or Politic to like, no, I want to go over.
Not even that. I say this all the time where like the
got
Giant
you out of that
Gonzalez
murder,
one
you hear me?
stands out like normal. Before they really I don't think they realized until Flair, and he took on Flair in 02, that it was a thing, that they wanted to push it.
They
So
didn't.
how-
Well, they
they
didn't even
could've
know that he
easily,
was
like,
undefeated. Yeah.
Giant Gonzalez, like they could have easily had Undertaker not be able to take Giant Gonzalez off his feet and just grab a chair and hit Gonzalez over the head and get DQ'd.
Right.
Sure.
to keep heat, and the streak never would have been a thing. Undertaker would have lost by DQ at WrestleMania 9. There's like 10 years where like they could have fucked it up and they didn't even know that they would have fucked up the streak. Like, and it became bigger than the world title eventually, like, which is crazy, like, to think about. But yeah, it started by him beating Snuka at the Los Angeles Coliseum in front of 100,000 fans. Oh no!
Oh
Just
no,
kidding. They went to
that's
LA
not what
Sports Arena.
happened.
Oh, I'm
no.
sorry. They went to LA Sports Arena. It was like 17,000 fans.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where it started. WrestleMania 7.
Yeah.
The
there
same
it is.
card where Macho Man and Warrior had their retirement match, and the same card where Hogan beat Slaughter to win his world title back. That's how long the Undertaker's been around. Like, if you really think about that, that's fucking crazy.
Because you've always said your favorite streak match was Jimmy Snuka, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah.
You got the,
of course.
Taker, not murderer, would align with Jake Roberts to begin a feud with the
Different
Ultimate
time.
Warrior. Touring the house show circuit in body bag matches. 1 year after his debut, not Warriors, the Undertaker would defeat Hulk Hogan at the Survivor Series,
really?
1991, and win his first WWF Heavyweight Championship.
There's got to be
This all
shenanigans
came
involved, though, brother. Can't
after
be
the
clean.
interference of Ric Flair sliding the steel chair in the ring for the Undertaker to tombstone Hogan
One of the
on.
worst tombstones ever.
Let's talk about this bullshit.
Yeah, that's
One of the worst tombstones ever. But before we bash that, 1 year after he debuts, he beats Hulk Hogan for the
And wins the
WWF
title.
Championship.
Look at this. Flair with a chair. A steel chair. He got pile drived right into the steel chair. Wait a minute. One. Come on. Two. Get out. We got a new world champion. That's ridiculous. Federation champion. Woo! What a miscarriage of justice. I told you so. If I was a fan, I'm going to say this, man. And new World Wrestling Federation champion, The Undertaker. This is horrendous.
Again,
Can we,
a lot of people.
Can we just... Yeah.
I know people
There's
just
so
brush by
much
that.
trivia that I think I can stump people with because as we because this, like I said, this was at the
It's
tail
sad. It
end.
should be obvious.
This is when the rocking wrestling era was dying. Well, you would think that, but people don't. Like,
I know.
there's a lot of wrestling fans
Sad.
now that don't like the Ruthless Aggression era was like their junior high years and
Yeah,
stuff like
think
that.
you
that's
ask
so
who
WWE was
Undertaker
great.
beat for the world title for the first time, no one's ever going to say Hogan. They'll
They
never
might say Vicious, they might say someone, but I don't know if
I don't
they'll
even
say
think they
Hogan.
even say those
Like,
names, honestly.
you're right, they're gonna be like, oh, wasn't it Austin?
Hart.
in
They don't
98?
even know
Yeah.
who Sid Vicious is,
Bret
probably.
Hart.
True.
Yeah.
Was it Batista?
But can we... I mean, do we want to spend enough time talking about the politics?
It should have been me, Bret the Hitman Hart, not that
where
bastard
Taker
Hulk
felt
Hogan.
guilty for about a month. They thought he really hurt Hogan when he didn't on that.
There was a lot of Hogan. and
Oh,
Vince's
you
relationship
held me
was-
where I couldn't move. Well, that was the fucking
brother.
point.
Hogan's Undertaker's always been really safe with it. Hogan and Vince, they were falling out here, and the accusations of the steroids were coming out, and everything was getting really messy here. And if you go back and watch the end of this, when Flair slides the chair in the ring, Hogan's head was like 8 goddamn inches from even touching the
It
chair.
never touched the chair.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and they did the whole stretcher job where Hogan got taken out, which was all part of the show. But in the back, they said Undertaker said later Hogan came back and he went and told Vince that, oh, I don't know, man, he's not very safe with that move. He dropped me on my head. And Taker's like, I thought I did. He's like, I swear to God, I didn't feel his head hit. I knew I protected him. But then he said, you can't go online right now and just watch something that just happened or whatever. So
Yeah.
he had to wait. And Taker
Weeks
said
later.
a while later, he's like, I got the VHS and I watched it. He's like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't even come close. Like, dude, shut up. Like, Hogan's like, oh, I'm on my back. It fell
Well,
out.
then,
Oh,
but then
brother,
he's like, no,
my
it was,
spine's
I didn't
compressed.
hit the chair. You held me too tight, and I had nowhere
Oh,
to go.
shit my pants, brother, right in the ring.
Well,
Guys, it was
Spine
from when he
brother.
slammed Andre, he ripped everything in the
I need
back,
back
so he was
surgery.
already kind of like on edge.
Yeah, so everything was like scotch taped together. And then
He
hairless
agreed to
Undertaker
take it. He agreed to take it, knowing that he could die that night in Texas. Wait, that wasn't in Texas. That was the rematch,
Ooh,
right?
It works. It all works. It's
I-
fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking now.
Fucking stupid
Hey.
Hogan.
You know what? I always looked at it like from where I was at that point to where I was at the beginning, I was in a completely different spot. So I didn't have to carry a grudge. I treated him with the respect that I think that for what he did for the business, he deserved. So I treated him that way. I was not overly friendly, but I did, if he was in the building, I always made sure to say hello and engage him in conversation. But, you know, I've always, like I said, from that Tuesday in Texas, when I got that answer, I knew all I needed to know about him. And, you know, and that's the way I always, then, you know, my radar was always up anytime that I had to, you know, interact with him. But I dealt with him. I dealt in a professional manner with him.
Did you?
In a story, however, WWF President Jack Tunney ordered a rematch between the two at this Tuesday in
Charismatic
Texas,
Jack
6
Tunney.
days later. What?
Unequivocally, this match must Jack Tunney had no.
We
charisma.
must have a rematch.
You saw the strings.
Where the
He's
Undertaker
like,
will-
this is controversial. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's where
didn't hit the chair.
and that's where the Undertaker lost the title. The title
Hogan's
back
full of shit.
Oh my god. You guys are burying the lead the whole time. The Undertaker lost the title back to Hogan. For people that don't know this, shut up, God. Jesus Christ! You guys want to talk shit over like the most important part?
Oh, sorry.
Like, come on.
It is
Yeah,
important.
Craig.
Hogan,
Yeah, Craig. You're so noisy right now. Like, Craig's just like the Bills better fucking win next week. God damn it! Come on, better fucking win.
They will.
However, due to the controversial endings of the two matches between The Undertaker and Hogan, the title was vacated from Hogan the next night by Tunney. The company was without a WWF champion until Ric Flair earned it by winning the 1992 Royal
God,
Rumble
Hogan's such a
match.
piece of shit.
He
Put
really
that
is.
cigarette out.
Best,
I gotta get my
Rumbles.
title back, brother, and then see you later, brother.
but I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta make a movie.
Shit.
I don't like any of this, brother.
What a piece
I'm
of
leaving.
shit.
But I'll tell you, it did make to one of the best Royal Rumbles we've seen, and it still holds up to this day. I would say so. It's I don't mind it. It's Ric Flair.
Look
Come
at
on,
Hogan
guys.
created for you guys, you ungrateful fucks. Look at what he did for you.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, jeez. The Undertaker would continue his alliance with Jake Roberts until he prevented Roberts from hitting Miss Elizabeth with a chair. How
Photos
dare
for
you,
me, brother?
Macho? Just come on. Can you buy her a beer? Come on. What are you doing?
Brother,
This
if it wasn't
turned
for
the
me, Flair
Undertaker's
would be a
fate-
15-time champion, not a 16-time
what?
champion, brother.
Is he gonna be a face,
This-
brother? What the fuck are we doing here?
This turned the Undertaker face of all things and set the stage for WrestleMania 8, where he would defeat Jake Roberts. He would feud with Kamala for the remainder of 1992. Sorry, Mark. Sorry about your bad luck, but that's just the way. That's just them's the breaks. On January 11, 1993, The Undertaker would main event the first ever
Yeah,
Monday Night
Damien
Raw
Demento.
and defeat Damien Demento.
The Undertaker with the middle, down with the tombstone. That could be it. Oh my, yes.
Get the body bag.
The Undertaker victorious.
At WrestleMania 9, The Undertaker would defeat Giant Gonzalez in a DQ in a horrific match. I think it's 0 stars, might even be minus by most of you. He would unfortunately feud with Gonzalez through the summer, defeating him at SummerSlam of 1993. The Undertaker would set his sights on Yokozuna and win the WWF Championship.
No, he wouldn't win.
Huh? Oh, and I'm sorry, and the WWF Championship. The feud culminated in the championship casket match at the Royal Rumble in January of 1994. During the match, Yokozuna sealed The Undertaker in a casket with the assistance of a multitude of heel wrestlers hired by Yokozuna's vindictive manager, Jim Cornette, and Mr. Fuji. Man, that's a lot of work in there.
Do it, cuz.
Which, in retaliation for Bear's casket match stipulation,
Do a
he
Cornette
stuck
impression
in a
putting
Royal-
Yokozuna.
Yeah, put Undertaker in a casket.
Can't put me on the
Oh,
spot.
Dave, I want you to read this next paragraph
good work
with
for me,
every bit of emotion you ever have had in your body, please.
I got it.
Oh,
Unless Cuz
God.
wants to do that impression first. He's-
No, just do this. I
All
know
right.
what's coming.
After being trapped inside the casket by the Pack, green vapor emitted from the casket and the arena lights went out. Undertaker then appeared from inside the casket on the video screen, representing the spirit of his dead corpse, warning that he would produce a future rebirth of himself, explaining to his antagonist that he cannot and will not rest in peace. But then he did. And he floated out of the fucking building Are you serious right now?
This is one of my. I hated this fucking moment. Like, we were juniors in high school here, and look, I was still young, and I get we came from the rock and wrestling era, and it was all stupid and hokey and over the top. But this is why I did not like the Undertaker character. He legitly floated out of the building. Quick trivia: does everybody know who was in the Undertaker costume when Undertaker floated out of the building?
Ole Anderson.
Marty Jannetty, right?
Marty Jannetty, yeah.
Really?
Yep. So
That's
what it was,
Yeah.
for people, they put him in the casket. They get the casket down the aisle. The lights go out. Green smoke comes out, and then Undertaker comes up on the Titantron, and he's like, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna die. I gotta go away. I got injuries and shit. I gotta heal. And so but you saw the lining of the casket like it was shooting him from inside the casket, and then he was like, "Fear not, I will be back. I will not rest in peace." Then you just see this fucking figure in a trench coat and Undertaker's hat float out of the top of the Titantron all the way up through the top of the building, and it was Marty Jannetty in the costume.
Do you know how I know it was Marty Jannetty? It's because as he's going up, he took a bump.
He probably really thought he was.
You don't mean like a wrestling bump? You mean like a bump?
Yeah, a bump of coke.
We've never seen anything quite like this. What is it? Hey, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. What is going on? What is going on? I don't believe what I'm seeing. I don't know what I'm seeing.
Off the
Yeah,
jacket.
just to be clear, it was a bump of cocaine. Yeah.
It was like a line that he snorted all the way up. Yeah, so that was, I hated that so much when it happened. I was like, my God, and I know things get more crazy during the Attitude Era, but back here, junior high Jess could not, or not, it was junior high school. I could not handle this shit. I could not handle it. I know wrestling's hokey. I know people are like, what are you talking about? You're watching fake pro wrestling. How can you not handle it? I just could not handle Undertaker floating out of the building. I hated him even more back here. Even more.
Yeah, it's a reason to get booed. Just saying. The Undertaker did not appear. I would say he being not Marty Jannetty, but the Undertaker did not appear.
The Marty Jannetty also did not appear.
And he didn't appear for 7 months either. But the Undertaker didn't appear for 7 months after his loss to Yokozuna. In reality, he was given time off to allow a back injury to heal. He would be reborn at SummerSlam 94. We're all excited about it when he defeated
more hokey shit
himself. An imposter Undertaker was introduced by Ted DiBiase a couple of months before the pay-per-view. He claimed even the Undertaker had a prize.
And that was Brian Lee, right? Brian
and
Lee.
was now part of the $1 million corporation.
Remember, Shawn Michaels, I'm the one who brought The Undertaker to the World Wrestling Federation the first time, and I am the one who has brought him back. Hey. So without any further ado, as I promised, because I'm a man of my word, right here at the Heartbreak Hotel, I give you once again, from the dark side, The Undertaker.
All right. I saw the hearse earlier. He wasn't it. What do you think, McMahon? I don't. All right. I can't believe that Ted DiBiase's delivered.
The real Undertaker now replacing his
I thought it was Marty
gloves,
Jannetty.
tie and boot covers with bright purple. Probably was Jannetty.
The whole time Marty Jannetty.
Undertaker Marty Jannetty. That would have been awesome.
Marty's like, I'm going to get such a push.
Who was,
I
mean, there's your quiz. Who was the imposter Undertaker, Jess?
Brian Lee.
Brian Lee?
Chains from DOA.
Yeah. There you go.
And but the funny thing was, the rebirth of the Undertaker. You would think he would look totally different. No, he looked exactly the same, except
splash of purple.
His gray tie was purple. The band around his hat was now purple, and he wore purple leg warmers. Like that's the rebirth of the Undertaker. Like, so that was like in video games when you choose the same character to face. Like, you're playing Mortal Kombat and you pick Raiden, like, to face. Yeah. One Raiden will have a blue, like, skirt, like, around his a blue belt, and the other one will have an orange belt, so you can tell the difference. That was this Undertaker versus Undertaker. Like, the real Undertaker was purple, and then the old one was gray, so you can tell the difference.
It's Ken and Ryu Street Fighter, exact same body, just different face, different hair color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Seeking retribution, The Undertaker revisited his feud with Yokozuna and eventually faced him in another casket match at the 1994 Survivor Series. Chuck Norris portraying his Walker, Texas Ranger
No
persona
way.
was involved in the match as a special guest
Super kicking
enforcer,
Jeff Jarrett.
preventing interference from wrestlers that Yokozuna, Jim Cornette,
Wait,
and
Chuck
Mr.
Norris
Fuji.
super kicked Jeff Jarrett?
Yeah, he
Jeff
spun,
Jarrett
I
did
hope
a back.
spun kicked him or whatever. Yeah, and then Jarrett like bumped
Awesome.
back or whatever.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
the back roll.
You know what I miss is all the I miss all the.
He got kicked.
Do you guys? Am I the
I
only
got
one who miss? Am I the only one who misses all the Chuck Norris memes? Like you see,
I know, I
Keith Rock
missed them too.
Oh, I know.
split
Yeah.
in half. Chuck
Remember on
Norris kicked that
the
rock.
Conan O'Brien show, they had the Chuck Norris lever, the Walker
Walker,
Texas
yes.
Ranger lever, and he'd
Oh,
pull the
yeah.
lever and it'd play.
And he
a
would
scene.
show up.
So,
Just a random clip for Walker, Texas.
Oh yeah,
Ranger.
it would be
Yeah.
a clip, and then one time he did show up in the audience. It was funny.
yeah.
That's the best. Oh, I miss those. I miss Chuck Norris. Come on.
Yeah,
He's still alive.
What?
he's still alive.
He's still alive, still kicking. But also the
Legitimate.
the dodgeball movie. Fucking Chuck Norris.
Fuck. Oh, that's right. Ben Still at the end.
Fucking Chuck Norris.
I won that tournament. Fucking Chuck Norris. Unable to rely on much as far as interference this time was this time around due to Norris averting the attempts to several heel wrestlers. Yokozuna was defeated by the Undertaker and sealed in the casket. Throughout most of 1995, Undertaker feuded with members of Ted
When
DiBiase's
Yokozuna floated out, and Marty
Corporation.
Jannetty was dressed up as.
No, that's why I was laughing. I imagine like a 500-pound man being lifted to the Titantron, like out of the arena, and it's Marty Jannetty in a fat suit.
Jannetty was like.
Okay, your job now is to create that for an Instagram post later, Craig. That's just get it done. Get it done. He, not Jannetty, Undertaker, would defeat IRS at the beginning of the year, beat King Kong Bundy. You wrote Bunny.
I did King Kong Bundy.
King Kong Bundy at
a real
WrestleMania
character.
11. Yeah, and closed the year out by feuding with King Mabel. Wow.
Everything's fine.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry about
And on a
that.
side note, real quick too,
Sorry.
Mabel accidentally really hurt him when he dropped the leg. He shattered the orbital bone of the Undertaker. So there was a period at the end of that year where Undertaker wore like a Phantom of the Opera mask, and
That
it was
was all
purple. It was
purposeful.
to protect his orbital socket while it healed.
Hey, if basketball players can do it, dead
Yeah.
man can do it.
So
Cody Rhodes could do it.
how did that happen? So because it's all fat, right? Is it the
Mabel.
weight that just crushed the orbital bone? Was it like a bone that hit bone?
I think he probably sat on him with his ass.
Jeez.
Like, yeah, went to, you know what I mean? Like, went to the leg drop and
We'll
sat on his
have
fucking
to
face
go
with
back
his
and try to find it. Just find it on YouTube.
And he
Oh
went,
my
"Wow."
God.
Did he no sell that? You fucking.
Wow.
He sit up from that.
Yeah. In the main
Wow.
event of the Royal Rumble in '96, he not Mabel, but the Undertaker was in a WWF Championship match against Bret Hart. The Undertaker was eventually able to hit the Tombstone Piledriver on Bret, but Diesel interfered, costing the Undertaker the championship. Taker would defeat Diesel at WrestleMania 12 on March 31st of 1996.
And I downplayed it on purpose. The streak is still raging on here, man. He's still
Yeah,
winning
there it
every
is.
WrestleMania match.
Sensing the power, scoops up Big Daddy Cool. Sets him up. No. With a tombstone. No. Is that enough to put him away? Can Diesel be put away too? Yes.
I can't believe it, McMahon.
Wonder how the
Yep.
next one will be.
Diesel beats him. So,
He, being Undertaker and not Diesel, would finish 1996 in a feud with Mankind. At SummerSlam of 96, The Undertaker would lose in a boiler room brawl match after his longtime manager, Paul Bearer, struck him in the head with the urn at the rematch.
I remember starting to kind of warm up to the Taker character at this point because they were trying something different. Like, first of all, we all like Cactus Jack. And so when he first came in as Mankind, we were like, fucking thank God. Like, this is when Vince really started. If you look back to the seeds that were planted for like 98, 99 that would come later, a lot of shit had to happen in 96. We talked about it many times. We're going to release an episode, or actually we released in our archives, Stone Cold Steve Austin 1997 year. This stuff started moving around because WCW was buying up all the stars, and late in 96 the NWO started. People started just fucking jumping over to WCW. So Vince had to just bring people in like Mick Foley, who had been fired by WCW, hire a new guy named Dwayne something. I don't remember. He became the Pebble or the Rock. I don't remember. And Steve Austin, who came in as a ringmaster, and Mark Marrow, and they had to just figure out like how to make this work. And Taker was there during this whole transition. So what we didn't cover was after that Rock and Wrestling era died in 91, 92, and Hogan goes away, Piper goes away, Savage goes away, all that. Taker's still around. We mentioned that he faced Diesel. He was still around during all this shit. He faced Brett after Brett became champion. So Taker was the kingpin. Vince really like leaned on him hard here, and I think that we need to like acknowledge that because
That's true.
Vince was like, okay, wait a minute. I don't want to put the title on him necessarily, but he's really over. Everybody loved The Undertaker. Everybody at this point. Wrestling was going through a downturn and a dip. But what Vince was thinking was, wait a minute. I have this guy who's instantly over. He'll be my mid-card guy. Not that Taker was a mid-card guy. Don't misunderstand me. But I can put him in the mid-card against King Kong Bunny, he's a big fat bunny, and then IRS or whoever, or King Mabel or whatever. He'll be my middle of the card guy. So he kind of redefined what a mid-card guy meant. Undertaker was by far not a mid-card guy, but he was in the middle of the card, so I could work on my Bretts and my Shawns and my Diesels and figure out what I want to do on the top for the world title picture. And Taker would bounce in and out. Like we just read, he challenged Brett. He would face Diesel. Things like that. Taker was such an important part here while Vince was really floundering and trying to figure out how to figure out WCW and how to beat them back. And they were buying all of the old big names and all that stuff. Vince used Taker here to really like insert him and really just be like, well, at least I have my card won't collapse. I have Taker. So I could fuck around on the top of the card all I want to. I got Taker though. And that's a big deal. I think to this day, I think that's why Vince and Taker love each other so much and why they respected each other, because you got to think about it. During his worst time, when he was getting beat up a little bit here from the competition and he was losing talent and Hogan was old and Savage was old. And
they were stuck in the muck together, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it was almost like what Hogan and Vince were when they first started, when they broke the territory.
Yeah, there was a lot more success there right away, though.
Taker was with Vince. Yeah, you're right. Success and dollar-wise probably showed more with Hogan, but Vince and Taker were in the lowest part of wrestling history in American wrestling. Yeah, sure. They were in the shit together. And I think that can't be understated. I had to pause for a minute because honestly, and then you get Mankind in there and you got this great character that Vince is like, Jim Ross pushed that guy down Vince's throat. And he's like, no, this guy's going to be perfect, Vince, for Taker. Like they're both kind of supernatural, kind of Mankind's crazy and will fucking fall off anything and do whatever. And they just, their chemistry was so good. And we hear Mick Foley on his podcast now talk about Taker. He's like, he was my first program. I debuted the day after WrestleMania 12, and they put me right away with The Undertaker. So if anyone's going to be like Foley thumbs up or Foley thumbs down, it was going to be Mark. It was going to be The Undertaker.
He would tell you
and
right
Taker
away.
was like, oh, this guy fucking gets it, man. Like, he's good. And, he really helped launch Foley's career in the WWF, Taker, like in an indirect way.
This is a wild time. So much could have one different opinion, one more ego going a little higher could have changed everything. I mean,
they were desperate, right? If you didn't have somebody with the merit and someone who was like really an honest man like The Undertaker, imagine if you had Hogan there in the trenches at the time when everything was bad with Vince.
Well, he doesn't have the body, brother.
I don't know about everybody that came in, but Taker was just like, no, put me with this guy. And as a matter of fact, we'll have Paul Bearer turn on me and I'll lose. What? Yeah, like we got to make this guy. We have to make this Mankind guy. We have to. And like I really respect him for that. Looking back as we get older, I hated that character when he no-sold and all that stuff. But looking back, going like, dude, Taker just understood it from the beginning, and him and Vince clicked from the start. He was really the second Hogan behind the scenes.
He might be the best
about it, because Vince trusted Hogan in the beginning, and then after Hogan left, Vince is like, I need someone as my anchor.
When you look at it now,
was that guy.
Hogan may have held the title for like 3 or 4 years in one stint, but Taker had the longest run within the industry under
as
Vince.
The trusted veteran in the back.
As a trusted guy in the back.
And honestly, all what Undertaker could have said, like, that guy's not really very safe. He hurt me in the Boiler Room match, Vince. Could have politicked to destroy him off the bat instead of making him.
It's funny that the most respected, trusted, iconic, and probably one of the biggest wrestlers in wrestling history is named Mark.
Well said.
I was thinking about that when it's Mark Calloway. We're all Marks. Yeah.
He's
the old-time Mark.
Well said.
At their rematch at Survivor Series, 1 month after Taker was buried alive in a match against Mankind, he would lower from the ceiling of Madison Square Garden in a new bat-type gimmick with wings and all.
Oh, God.
At WrestleMania 13.
No, this was rough, too, and I don't want to... I know... sorry, Dave, I know it's not red, but, like, you know, we're going to get into a part here where they were... So, even behind the scenes, he was Vince's fucking strength, right? But on screen, they were kind of struggling to kind of figure out who Taker was. Like, he was the dead guy, you know, at the end of the 1990, 1991, 1992. But they're like, how do we modernize him? How do we make him? And I remember that Madison Square Garden match. It didn't go over well. He was lowered from the top on a cable. And didn't he have bat wings on? Cuz he had a big cape on. He was like, he had bat wings or whatever.
Yeah.
It was it was a more demonic Undertaker.
Like,
yeah, it was like, so he was like trying to be reborn, like, you know, like to combat Paul Bearer and Mankind who had joined each other. Born, no, I don't want to do purple this time. I want to be a bat or something different. So it was, I remember this time being a very awkward phase for The Undertaker because the character had to go through a change. Backstage, as we just talked about, he was completely trusted. So he wasn't going fucking anywhere. But like on screen, I remember as a fan going, Undertaker's kind of like, what are you going to do with him? You know, what are we going to do here? Yeah.
Well, I hope you like the bat gimmick because at WrestleMania 13, The Undertaker would defeat Sid to win his second WWF championship.
And that's what.
But he wasn't, though, actually. So he came back for that one event as the old Undertaker with the gray hat, you know, the original. He came back in his retro stuff and defeated Sid at 13. So I think Vince, and then he started changing gradually after that too. But I think Vince kind of dropped the whole bat thing. Real.
So it was it like a one night only with that gimmick where he just kind of went back like this isn't working.
He came back, in the old thing, yeah.
So The Undertaker would challenge Shawn Michaels to the first ever Hell in a Cell match to take place at Bad Blood in Your House. There's a mouthful. Despite the inclusion of the cell for more order and to prevent Michaels from receiving help from his D-Generation X stable, the encounter ended up being considered amongst one of The Undertaker's best matches of his career.
To start that too, if you go back to SummerSlam 97 when Bret beat Undertaker for the title, that's probably to this day it's my favorite ending. The last 30 seconds of that match is the best ending sequence I've ever seen in my life. Like Shawn was a special guest referee and Bret spit in his face, a real legit loogie right in his fucking face. And so they did a thing where Bret was going to bring a chair in. Shawn grabs a chair from him. And then Shawn's like, no, you can't use a chair. Bret spits in his face. So Shawn grabs the chair to hit Bret. Bret ducks. I mean, he fucking clocks Undertaker right in the face. And as he counts the pin, he looks at Bret in the eyes after every count. So he's all 1, and he stares at Bret. 2, and he stares at Bret again, and 3, and he rolls out, and Shawn's all, fuck! Like, because Shawn knew, like, Taker's going to kill me now. Like, because I fucking counted him down.
You started
like, it was the most Pat Patterson brilliant fucking ending I've ever seen. Then Dave goes in here too to the Hell in the Cell. What do you say? Right? Like so much shit happened in this match. Like
good thing no one challenged Bret to a spit.
So match. Seemingly about to emerge. You already talked about this, right?
We didn't.
Yeah, seemingly about to emerge the victor after striking Michaels with a chair shot of his own. The Undertaker was interrupted by his storyline half brother. Ding, 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 Kane. For those of you that was wondering when that was coming back in.
Remember, finally, like in the back.
Finally, like, Brother Love's like, I told you.
No WWE diehards. No WWE diehards.
Finally making his debut under the control of Paul Bearer with, I think, lighter hair, if I'm not mistaken. Kane stormed the arena, ripped off his... I'm sorry, I can't think of the
He's alive, Undertaker!
Oh my God, I told you!
Oh my God!
Your fucking brother!
I can't say like Hellstrom stuff. I just can't. I can't. Ripped off the cell door, laid out a nonplussed Undertaker.
No, I just copied that and I realized right now, what the fuck does that mean?
That's a laid out Undertaker is what that is. With his own traditional trademark finisher, the Tombstone Piledriver, allowing Michaels to pin him for the victory.
If you haven't seen the Undertaker and Shawn Hell in the Cell match, are you a wrestling fan? Can you say
Still
that
one
about
of the best
yourself
Hell in
if you've
a
never
Cell
seen
matches.
it?
Still one of the best Hell in a Cell matches.
It might be the best still. I mean, there's been a lot of good
It's
ones.
still
but
might be.
Wait a minute. It's Paul Bear. It's Paul Bear. And that's gotta be Kane. That's gotta be Kane.
As far as storytelling from beginning to end, it's one of the better ones.
The feud with Kane closed out in 1997 and began 98 with two brothers reuniting, only to have Kane turn on Taker again, setting up their WrestleMania 14 match. Taker, imagine that, would win after a sloppy affair there. You just can't put two big men in the ring like this. Come on.
Well,
the
we
story's
talked about
great,
too on the
match
past
is
thing
not.
too. Like the storylines are really good with Kane and Undertaker. Obviously, we remember the Lightning, the Inferno matches, all
But
that.
then you got
all their matches
You
were
do that
shit.
ding
I
ding.
hated their matches so much. There's just two guys, like just fucking hitting each other and mouth breathing. I didn't like it.
Cuz disagrees a little bit.
Breathing.
Do you?
No, I don't think.
No, the matches suck. I mean, I like the Tombstone Pile Drivers in that match.
But the storyline. Well, we talk about
story was great. I love the
We're
story.
getting into an era here where
like
storylines became like they're soap opera. They were like totally, lightning out of their hands and shit. Which
we're
I
making
movies.
movies now.
I can never stand that stuff.
But Dave will talk about here one of our all favorite
Unforgiven in your house. The two would face off in an Inferno match on April 28th of 1998. Undertaker would win that match after Kane's arm was set on fire.
Is that the one where the dude was actually on camera adjusting the fire? Like you could see the guy who was supposed to handle the Inferno, and you could see like the flames go up and down based on his
that was
turning
later,
knobs.
wasn't it?
I can't remember.
Was that 98? Like where the fires all along the ringside you're talking about?
Yes.
He sets a ring crew guy on fire or something, right?
Okay.
That's what I remember. Or then someone was in the tower.
I just remember every big match that Kane
lightning
would do, the
fell
fire
out.
would shoot up. I don't think that was here, but it could have been.
Got it.
When Bret Hart came out, Loogies came out.
just
he put all the fire out with spitting on it.
He's like, yeah.
I believe that for sure. I think that happened. The Undertaker and Mankind's wildly violent, outlandish feud from over a year previous to this point was revitalized over the next month, ultimately taken to a new graphic height and decisively resolved when they faced each other at Hell in a Cell match at King of the Ring. The match,
the most iconic Hell in a
would
Cell
become
match.
one of the most famous matches in professional wrestling history. During the match, The Undertaker threw Mankind off the roof of a 16-foot cell onto the broadcast table below in what was a pre-planned move.
I know Foley doesn't. He always says it now. He's like, obviously, that's going to be the most match that I'm famous for, but he didn't want it to be. It's like it.
He wanted a WrestleMania moment.
Well, yeah, he was at he was at this flux with his character too. So, and they had already fought a lot, and so out of nowhere, Vince is like, "Oh yeah, you and Taker are going to take on each other at King of the Ring and a Hell in a Cell," and Foley's like, "God, I mean, just out of nowhere, we're just going to kind of like restart that shit again," and he's like, "Yeah." And so they're all right. So he started talking to the Undertaker. It's like, well, what can we do different? Like our feud's been kind of like, dead for a year and a half. Like, what do we do? And then that's when they started talking. I think Terry Funk's like, why don't you start out on the top of the cage? And he was like, well, why don't we do that? We'll climb up there and we'll fight on top of the cage. Like no one's ever seen that. We'll start the match there. And that's when Foley started going like, I bet I could make that table. And Taker's like, what do you mean? And he's like, you could throw me off and I bet I can make that table. And Taker didn't want to do it. He's like, no, I'm not throwing you off the fucking cage. And he's like,
how many times did Taker say no? And everyone's like, yeah, we're going to do this.
Yeah, and Foley was like, no, I think I can do it. Like, it's a bump. It's a bump, right? He's like, I can bump if I'll flip in midair. It's just a longer fall. So I'll flip in the middle and I'll land on the table. Like, I'll bump. It'll be fine. And like, so somehow finally out of nowhere, Taker's like, all right, I'll fucking throw you off the cage.
The Loomis eyes are coming in on this one, guys. I'm just like,
it's crazy, and everyone talks about it, but I really believe that more people have talked about it than actually go back and watch it. To this day, even though it's overhyped, if you guys have recently even gone back and watched it, it's still breathtaking as fuck. Like I still watch that going, oh my god!
I was gonna say
there was no cushion under that table.
It's still breathtaking.
Like, I was gonna say if there's any VHS or DVD that you show someone's like, Like, I don't understand wrestling. Like, what's good about it? Like, show me like moments that you've stopped with guests in your house to be like, okay, watch this. Why do you like wrestling? Watch this. And then this like moment, you always show them Hell in a Cell. Like, it's the number one moment to be like, this is the coolest shit. You think wrestling's fake? You think it's not dramatic?
Pushed that particular move. The next one scares me a lot more.
Yeah.
This is where
the drama of that entire match
went bad.
Beginning to end.
Taker performed a chokeslam on Mankind through the roof of the cell, which they were supposed to stay there, but that cell ceiling fell through, and he legitimately went through to the bottom of the ring, and that knocked Mankind unconscious. And also been jumping from the top of the ring to the ring, top of the ring canvas. Taker suffered a broken ankle. There's a small thing here I think that's missing is that I'm pretty sure Mick Foley's tooth was breathing through his nose at this moment when he was on his back. Is that right?
Foley thought that it was like froth that he was pushing through, and then he realized later, like, tooth. He swallowed his own tooth, but it came up through a sinus
through his nasal cavity.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, that scared me more than the previous move because I saw that. And I'm just like,
Undertaker with the previous, he already had he had an injured ankle, and when he dropped down from the top of the cage to the ring and he landed, you'll watch Undertaker stutter step.
He shakes it off.
His ankle. Like, he broke. But it was already heavily taped
and finishes the match.
It was already heavily taped under the boot. That's the only reason why he was able to keep going because it was already supported to keep walking, and his adrenaline was flowing, and you're in the performance.
Escalating as things progressed, blood flowed from both wrestlers after they attacked each other with steel steps, chairs.
There was more to the match. Like it was car wrecks, and then they had a match.
The kitchen sink. Yeah, this is where it starts. Topping it off, Mankind introduced multitudes of thumbtacks scattered across the ring canvas, but was back body dropped onto them and subsequently chokeslammed onto them before The Undertaker won the match with a tombstone pile driver. I do have to stop here for a second because I believe from all the interviews we hear after, Mankind doesn't remember any of this.
He doesn't remember the thumbtacks.
So pretty much after he's chokeslammed to the ring, he's got a lot of loss, right?
Yeah, he walked to the back or whatever, and he apologized to Undertaker and everybody. He's like, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to get to the thumbtacks. And he had thumbtacks all in his face and all over his back. He's like, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to get it. And they're like, no, you did. And he's like, oh, good.
Oh, good, cool. Let's go see my kids real quick. Well, I got tacks in my face. Yeah. There's so much documentary on that where his kids are crying, they're totally traumatized, and it's wow. It's the things you put on line for our entertainment. We salute you, man. That's Mick, Undertaker. Yeah, we were too mean back in the day. At Fully Loaded in Your House, The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Kane and Mankind. Now they're friends. I guess they're not friends. To win the WWF Tag Team Championship. Yeah. The Undertaker
and that wasn't the main event that just real quick to go back. That wasn't the main event that night either. Like I think Steve Austin had to wrestle Kane after that Hell in a Cell.
Kane won the world title.
It was like, how can anything follow that at all? Like it wasn't the end. It's like, what?
So the Undertaker and Austin's reign as tag champs only lasted 2 weeks, as Kane and Mankind regained those titles in a fatal 4-way tag match on the August 10th edition of Raw. That would set the table for The Undertaker challenging Steve Austin for the World Championship at SummerSlam of 1998. Steve Austin would defeat The Undertaker in that encounter. The Undertaker told Kane before SummerSlam bout that he did not want him interfering, even sending Kane away to the back during the match itself when he appeared there. Even though The Undertaker lost the match at SummerSlam, he handed Austin his championship belt back after the match with a show of respect and sportsmanship.
Austin with a low blow. Out of desperation. Stunner. He got the stunner. 1, 2. Yes. Austin wins. Austin wins. How did he do that,
They never
Pretty cool
gelled.
stuff.
Like they never gelled. I think Austin talked about that too. He's like, Taker and I just never gelled, like wrestling wise in the ring. We just never got it like with each other. And sometimes that happens with even legends and everything. Like because I remember that SummerSlam '98 match being a huge
98, yeah.
letdown, and
Yeah.
it was just I think Taker was probably injured too. So was Austin, I'm sure. And it was just But Austin said in his podcast often, he's like, we just never gelled, man. Like it didn't work with us for some reason.
Two Texans, we just didn't gel.
What's interesting about it is Taker and Austin couldn't gel, but Taker and Michaels was some of the best shit you ever saw. And Taker and Mankind was amazing too.
Well, it's a big man, little man. You know what I mean? Like if you really know your role on that, like those are the best encounters.
David and
like,
Goliath all day. Yeah,
best.
yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, but then you got Taker and Mankind, and you're like, this is the gem. Like it's weird, but yeah, it makes sense, but it makes no sense at the same time. In September, as the storyline would mature, Undertaker subtly began showing some heel characteristics, becoming a bit of a tweener. This began when he and Kane revealed the fact that they were in cahoots to rid Austin of his title for villainous company owner Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Austin and McMahon immersed in a bitter rivalry during this era, which is huge. At Breakdown in Your House, The Undertaker and Kane were booked in a triple threat match with Austin for the WWF Championship, in which McMahon stated that the brothers were not allowed to pin each other. Wow. The Undertaker and Kane pinned Austin simultaneously after a double chokeslam, ending the match in a no contest, so the title was vacated by Mr. McMahon. This event led to a match at Judgment Day in Your House between Taker and Kane for the title, with Austin as a special guest referee.
Yeah.
Because obviously Vince is being a dick. Near the end of the match, Paul Bearer seemed about to assist Kane by handing him a steel chair to hit Taker with it, but as Kane had his back turned, both Bearer and Undertaker hit Kane with the chair shots. We're turning it back, baby. The Taker went for the pin, but Austin refused to count the fall, attacked the Undertaker, and counted out both of them. You son of a bitch. Yeah.
I forgot how to count.
Finally, The Undertaker turned heel the next night on Raw for the first time since 1992, reconciling with Bearer and claiming that he and Bearer would unleash their ministry of darkness on the WWF.
I like this fact.
As part of that new storyline angle, The Undertaker admitted that he had indeed intentionally set the fire that killed his parents and scarred Kane, for which he had previously blamed on Kane.
I killed everybody.
After the build-up, his second heel run in the latter part of '98, The Undertaker introduced an updated version of his dead man identity in January of '99, a dark priest-like character who in the initial period of his persona reigned over a stable known as the Ministry of Darkness. Jess, you want to comment on this one?
I enjoyed it.
Well, Cuz liked it. I thought, again, I really felt like they were struggling with him here. They were trying to make the dead man gimmick. We're going to get really quick, actually, where we're going to cut this episode off, where he finally really reinvents himself and just does something totally different. But they were still trying to figure out a way to, like, let him be the Undertaker still, but modernize it. So they were trying to cult gimmick. They were trying a bunch of different things. I never connected with it personally. Cuz has different opinion.
I like the music too that he came out to.
Me too. I did like that as well. You got to figure in the background while all this is going on, you have The Rock, who is red hot at this point in '99. You have Austin, who's the man, like in '99, and you had his feud with Vince was at its apex. So, Undertaker was trying to make a character that debuted in 1990 at Survivor Series relevant still. And so I find this, I do remember crazy stuff like this. Like I remember these moments, but I'm like, man, I felt like they were really trying with him. Vince really, I owe it to you, Mark. I owe it to you to keep you relevant and keep you here with me. But they just couldn't do it. It was weird. And I'm not saying Cuz remembers it and thinks fondly of it. And I think a lot of fans do. But at the same time, like me as a fan at the time, I was just like, man, like they're really trying with him. Like he's not relevant right now.
And what's funny, I think it was around this time he showed up. The character was kind of similar to it, but was it Poltergeist? The show Poltergeist?
Yeah, so he took on a wicked, demonic presence much more than before. He often proclaimed to be invoking and taking orders from this higher power. He appeared in hooded black robes, sat on a throne with a towering backrest with a crucifix-like logo. Is that what you're talking about, Cuz?
Yeah, that character. And then just the way he dressed, too.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It was just more.
He did
demonic,
wear the
right?
big old robe.
Yeah, and
he did wear a big old robe.
As Dave reads ahead too, like there's a lot of people in this faction, a lot of good people. I remember
Christian, Midian. Midian was in it.
Well, some not good people.
Wild.
Mabel, Viscera.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
The best. Mabel's the best. Come on. What happened to Mabel?
wait,
Next
no.
episode, right? Just jump into that. What happened to Mabel?
No,
Joined the corporation.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Okay, so like I said, the help of his minions, he would perform sacrifice on wrestlers, and the completed ministry was the Brood, Christian, Edge, and Gangrel, the Acolytes, Bradshaw and Farouk, Median and Viscera. It's a lot of people in that. Calloway himself did not wrestle for a period of time, having undergone that hip replacement. Wow, this guy breaking ankles, replacing hips. As part of the angle, The Undertaker had his ministry members fight his battles, carry out the evil wishes to do all of his dirty deeds. In this manner, he expressed his desires to take over the World Wrestling Federation, displacing its owner, Mr. McMahon. And these ambitions culminated into a rivalry between the ministry and the corporation.
Well, I mean, if I run like a cult, like or whatever, my first thing's gonna be like, I want to take over a wrestling company. Like, forget Satan and like like doing all that. He's like, "What's your ambition? Do you want us to, bow to the Dark Lord or whatever?" He's like, "Not so. I mean, I just kind of want to."
No, I want to control the book.
I think they want to take over the Dark Lord. That's Vince McMahon. Come on, let's go.
I just feel like I don't know, things need more modern around here.
And that resulted in a match between The Undertaker and the Corporation of Force with the big...
It's controversial for sure.
The big boss man.
Yeah.
Just pinned him 1, 2, 3, right? And then that's left.
No.
Oh, no? That was it?
They hung the boss man from the top of the cage in a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 15. Just hung him.
That's
He
cool.
was up there for a
that was
while,
weird.
by the way.
That doesn't age well.
Yeah. And even like the ministry was up there, they couldn't get off their suspensions either. Right? They were stuck up there for like minutes, and the whole thing was really bad, right? Because they came down and hung them up, didn't they? Was that the...
Yes. Yeah. They hung it. Yeah.
And they couldn't get out of their suspensions, and Boss Man just hung there for like 20 minutes, and it was really eerie. I'm sure some kids are still PTSDing on that today.
Like the rest of the card, Boss Man's like still hanging there.
People are wrestling around him, hitting him, and the Irish whip in the ropes. Like, fuck, goddamn Boss Man.
I still see him. I hope.
He's like,
they say when you finally die, you take a dump. I hope he doesn't dump him.
Shit's on
Yeah, in the ring.
Yeah.
Gotta make it realistic.
yeah, shut up.
Come on,
Shit, Boss Man.
Boss Man, I know you gotta poop. Oh,
Do it, Ray.
Do it.
It's not safe for work here. It's not safe for work. Therefore, The Undertaker kidnapped Stephanie McMahon.
Hell yeah.
Forcing Mr.
I remember the
McMahon
limo
to
scene.
enter-
The limo scene. Right?
Oh,
Guys,
yeah.
remember Undertaker's in the mirror? He's like, hello, Stephanie.
Hello, Stephanie. It forces Mr. McMahon to enter into a reluctant alliance with his longtime nemesis, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Undertaker attempted to marry Stephanie before sacrificing her in an eldritch ceremony conducted by Paul Bearer, but Austin was able to rescue her. I don't even remember that. That is just...
It's weird. I thought they were going for a bigger storyline with this, and then they didn't. Like, it's really odd. They just went right back to Vince and Austin after this.
Just being jerks to each other. That's so funny. But when there's a young lady involved, you gotta save her, I guess. I don't know.
My daughter.
Yeah, my daughter. At Over the Edge pay-per-view, The Undertaker defeated Austin for his third WWF Championship with the help from Shane McMahon as a special guest referee.
Now looks like it's up. Oh, God, wait a minute. Hey, what was that? Shane McMahon just fast counted Austin. What? Shane McMahon just fast counted Austin.
And new World Wrestling Federation Champion, The Undertaker!
Shane McMahon with a fast count just stole the WWF title from the Rattlesnake.
The ministry eventually merged from Shane McMahon's Corporation Alliance to form the Corporate Ministry. The Undertaker later revealed that Mr. McMahon had been his higher power all along.
It was me all along, Austin.
As a shame
fucking hood up.
against Austin. After The Undertaker lost the WWF Championship
one of the
back
best.
to Austin on the Raw following the King of the Ring 1999 and lost to him in a First Blood match fully loaded, his relationship with the McMahons dissolved and the corporate ministry had disbanded. The Undertaker then began a storyline where he teamed with The Big Show and a tag team known as the Unholy Alliance, which held the WWF Tag Team Championships twice. Little factor there. Just, giving Taker gold where you can. Just give him some strap, right? It's all good. After a victory at SummerSlam, The Undertaker suffered a groin tear. God, this guy is going through it. And was seen limping in several matches.
My dick.
He avoided competing in wrestling matches in the following weeks, instead overbearingly ordering Big Show to fight his battles and do all of his dirty deeds. I find that kind of funny. Developing a comedy horror smart mouth during this time, elements of the Undertaker's trash-talking biker identity that he would eventually introduce in 2000 began peeping out of the woodwork during this phase of his career. To compensate for his lack of physical activity, Taker became increasingly overbearing and vocal, often mouthing off with the weirdness and making sinisterly smart aleck remarks in promos and on commentary. I know we're not supposed to pull in here, but that is big. That's kind of a big deal because Taker,
he was letting it out already.
When Taker can't do the work,
and we never covered
all you have is the mic.
We kind of
right?
yada past it, but when he started facing Brett at the beginning of '96, there was a part that
promo.
Brett wrote in his book where Taker came in. He was like super excited, and he was like, "Oh man, what do you want to do?" And I talked to Vince, and I want him to take the shackles off me. I don't want to just be the dead man and sit up and no sell stuff. He's like, "I want to wrestle. I can wrestle." And Brett's like, "Okay, like let's do it." And so like his matches with Brett, Brett was like, "I always took that as a badge of honor because Taker came to me almost like an underling. Like, can you please like wrestle me, Brett? Like, can you please like let me show you that I can wrestle?" In the locker room, Taker was this larger than life character. In the ring, he was even bigger than that because he was a dead man gimmick. But in the locker room, he comes to Brett like just like cowering, but just like, please, like I've been wanting to. I want to work. I want to work in there with you. Like I can wrestle. I promise. Like, and Brett's like, okay, and that introduced that. And then here, like Taker was he was injured, so he was like trying to be more witty on the mic and stuff like that, and break the character. Which we're going to end it soon. We won't talk about this other character that is not a dead man at all. That is the opposite of what anything could be. Probably more the real life Mark, to be honest.
Exactly.
And so he started. These are big moments, like Dave said, because Taker he's a good pro wrestler. I mean, I know that sounds really weird phrase to say, but the Undertaker is an excellent pro wrestler, and he gets it.
He's a great pro wrestler.
And he wants to work. All the best wrestlers want to work. You want to do your gimmick, you want to make your promoter happy or your boss happy. But after a while, like really good wrestlers, like Austin's like, I want to fucking work, man. Like I can do.
Jim Cornette said it when Undertaker first started, because Jim Cornette was with him in WCW, and said even after his matches, Undertaker or Mark could memorize and recap his matches beat for beat, moment for moment. Every moment he was wanting to do better and get better and be a wrestler. He was always cerebral about it and always wanting to do better and always recapping in his head. Was always like photographic memory with everything. So he's always learning. So
that's awesome.
Makes sense why he wanted to wrestle.
Yeah. On the September 23rd, 1990 edition of SmackDown, Mr. McMahon threatened that he would remove The Undertaker from the Unforgiven main event if he refused to participate in a casket match against Triple H.
Good.
Undertaker retorted he did not care and maybe he would not be participating in anything with the WWF any longer. And from there, he was walking out on the WWF. Goodbye. In reality, Calloway went on a hiatus from the WWF in order to treat that groin injury that we just talked about. He made his return to action on December 14th, teaming with Viscera in a losing effort against Kane and The Godfather, at a house show in Como, Puerto Rico. It's amazing.
I'm all healed up. I'm gonna go wrestle the dude that broke my orbital bone.
Yeah. Well, and The Undertaker was advertised on the Armageddon promotional poster to return at December 1999 pay-per-view, but meanwhile he had tore his pectoral muscle. That's wild. That's
in the match
really
against
painful.
Mabel, I'm sure.
Yeah, and taking him out of action for almost another 8 months.
Just giving him a tag.
Yeah, so I stopped it here because the next time
when we see him again, when we see Taker again, he's not the Undertaker that we know.
Yeah, so I wanted to end it here, and we will have a part 2 for sure. Well, we will start the year 2000 and go on. Well, he debuts in the year 2000 as the biker Undertaker, as the American Badass, as the whatever, which It's funny when you look back. A lot of fans say they don't care for that. I'm like, that was my favorite.
Why?
I became
That's
a
the best
fan.
part of it,
I
yeah.
started to become a fan of the Undertaker when he became the biker. I loved the biker
Yes.
gimmick,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
later on, he was the Big Red Evil.
Some of
He
my
did the
favorite-
whole. He was awesome. Like, and then we all know, we'll get to it in the next episode. He turned back to the Dead Man in 2004 for WrestleMania 20. But like I love the biker, and we're going to cover that.
It's
But
still one of my favorite moments.
yeah,
anyways.
we'll end it here, so maybe people will look forward to the next one because my
and Hogan.
personal favorite is the biker taker. I really enjoyed that character a lot.
Yeah.
It made me appreciate him, and then he was able to wrestle. And then after that, after he became the biker, that's when the streak was realized, and then they started really pushing the streak. So because he became a good worker, not that he wasn't before,
Which
but
he
he
was
was
always a good
allowed to
worker,
more
yeah.
as the biker taker, and he was more of a modern character that people could relate to. Then they started pushing the streak. Then the real legend of the Undertaker started to kind of blossom, and he
awesome.
finally found himself. The whole lowering from the bat in as a bat in '96, and then trying to find himself, and then do the Ministry of Darkness and the Cult Leader Taker. That's all fine. He had to go through those phases.
Easy,
but-
Jonesy, you sold me. You sold me. That's
We sold the O.W.P. diehards.
So we can end it
Stay
here.
tuned for the next
Our
Craig
200th
knows.
episode.
Craig knows the movie on that one. He knows the movie I was talking about.
I don't.
It's the 200th episode. What do you guys think about him? Obviously, we know our opinion, and we've talked about him before.
I think we greatly underestimated.
But what do you think about the
him.
first half of this career, the Dead Man, the
We
1990
tried to
Undertaker?
boo him out of too many buildings when we were younger, and we didn't understand what he was doing and
That's
the
so true.
groundwork he was laying.
Well, rightly so, actually. Kind of
there were times where he should have been booed out. Yeah,
Taker versus Taker, SummerSlam, and the floating out of the
Again.
arena, and there's a lot of garbage.
Maddie,
and there was
Maddie,
a lot of
it's
stuff.
not your
that was
fault.
for kids.
It's not your
A lot of
fault,
garbage.
Maddie. He didn't write.
But he has such a long career; it kind of dilutes the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
parts.
true.
It's
That's true.
Too many great.
It
moments
dilutes
now.
the good and the bad.
Too many
sometimes,
great,
too.
too many great
Yeah.
matches. Great pro. Like Jess said, the biker. That's still my favorite programs. Like him and Hogan.
I love it.
And Flair, and all these other guys that he was having programs with. Kurt Angle, The Rock.
Yeah.
Like fucking great.
Oh,
all
man.
of those great, man.
Dude, that's 10 years in that you started to
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
I'm on your
Yeah,
side.
here we-
Right,
so
yeah.
There we go.
20 more years.
We're beginning his 10th year. We just covered 10 years of his career in the WWF. Forget what happened before and Mark
Yeah,
McAllister
the
or whatever.
WCW stuff. Yeah,
Like
And this is when
yeah.
Jess just actually started to like him.
It's true. Like it took me. He got to a different character, and I was like, I love this.
Next
Undertaker.
time,
This guy's
no.
great.
Yeah.
We'll get to that one.
Happy 200, guys.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
happy
200
200
episodes. Wow. We've been
For
doing this a
audio
long
fans,
time.
give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud,
I'm going into another
iHeartRadio,
dimension behind me.
I know.
Stitcher, and
Cuz
Google
it's going
Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at our wrestling channel. On social media, can you do us a solid and give us a follow on Instagram or
Breaking
Twitter
the fourth
at
wall, brother.
WP 2019, or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Enjoy the purple. Enjoy the 200. For Dave, Jess, and Cuz, this is Craig. Sorry.
What?
With the OWP, it's one of
Let's
the
just go back in time.
Gin is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it really is good. It's good for you. With the OWP signing off, have a good one.